Welcome to Ali Fitness Podcast, a weekly production all about bringing health into fitness. With over 10 years of experience, Tesi has created a holistic treatment that includes unique breathing and movement techniques to retain your body and mind for better health. So in 2009, he did a degree in sports science in Italy, I believe, and then that followed by a master's in sports and human health development, which was in 2013. So on what was meant to be, I believe, a 3-month holiday to Australia, he decided to end his strength coach career and rather follow a career that he explains was more aligned with his emotional authority and sensitivity. In the last 3 years, he has guided hundreds of people through breathing techniques to full recovery from recurring injuries and has helped them find relief from chronic pain, stress, anxiety, and various other autoimmune diseases. Welcome to the show, Marco.
Thank you so much, Ali, for having me here.
And I believe your holiday is somewhat extended in that you've lived in Australia for the last couple of years.
That's right. Now in April it's gonna be 4 years that I'm here in Sydney. So yes, it's a long holiday.
Excellent. Look, thanks for coming on the show. I'm fascinated with breath work at the moment. I'm actually personally doing a teacher training in a breath work called Soma breathwork.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so I'd love to talk to you about the different modalities of breathwork later on. But before we even go there, can you share with us a bit about how you personally found breathwork and why that was your answer?
Absolutely. Well, as you mentioned during your beautiful introduction, I'm working with people that are suffering from chronic pain, all the kind of chronic conditions with the autoimmune dysfunction too. And I found breath work, first of all, a great tool to let them achieve a state of rest and so promote recovery and promote healing. Because what I saw and what I'm seeing in my practice, in my daily practice, there's all of these kind of chronic conditions, dysfunction, are just the results of a stress response. So for me, give them a tool, and I'm working a lot on the body. For me, breath work is a body practice. It's a body practice that through that we can change the chemistry of our body, so we can change our physiology, we can change our immune responses, but we can change even our brain waves, and so our psychic and our nervous systems. And maybe we can dive more deeper and deeper into this universe. But yes, that's why I start to implement this technique on them. But of course, it's always been a journey that started from myself. And that's right. And I found the first benefit of myself first.
So tell me a bit more about how you found the benefit through breathwork.
Oh, well, I'm always been this kind of person. I'm talking a little bit personally now. This kind of person that be goal-driven, a perfectionist person. And I'm working a lot on the body. I'm training a lot. I love to feel my body, but sometimes when you have so many stuff to do and you lose a little bit the sensation, or you lose a little bit yourself, and you start to suffer a little bit from anxiety, a little bit more, start to be more stressed out, and sometimes you have this feeling like of overwhelming, like you lose the proper sense of direction because you are a little bit more perfectionist, you're never happy. For me, breath work I started implemented almost 5 years ago. And I started to implement it every morning and every evening. And for me, it was such an amazing tool for me to make myself grounded and then it's my focus and sense of direction. And I so come back to my body, because as I always say to my client, your body holds the truth of everything that is happening to you in the present moment. And so for me, experience breath, especially every morning and every evening, was such an amazing tool to reframe my mindset. Go away from my mind, come back into my body, reframe my present moment, acknowledge where I am, and become more focused and with sense of direction. So this for me was more like a good tool to overcome a little bit of anxiety and a little bit of my perfectionism obsession. Yes.
And it fascinates me. You're obviously into sport and strength, and you're a strength coach. It fascinates me that you gave up strength coaching to essentially coach people with the breath. How did that come about, that decision? And obviously you felt that it was such a powerful modality that you wanted to spend your career doing it. So tell me a bit more about that.
Oh, well, it has been a journey. Thanks for these questions, Ali. It has been a journey of 10 years, and I've been a strength coach for many teams, rugby, basketball, and soccer too, in Italy and in Australia as well. When I first came here, the first 3 months, as you said, I was with the internship with the high level rugby club, and I used to love it. And sometimes I even miss the team environment because it's nice, but you feel like part of something. But I felt like my emotional authority was somewhere else. And for me, have the opportunity to empathize in a one-on-one approach with a person that seek help, for me, is the best feeling ever. And I know that you can't help everyone, but at least empathize with them and reconnect with them is something that gave me so much satisfaction and make me change a little bit my path. And sometimes when you are a strength coach in an environment of 30 players, a rugby player, basketball player, whatever, and you have to confront yourself with so many other professionals, you don't really have time to empathize with the person in front of you, or even bring your own approach, because and this is right, because your approach has to be blended with all the other professionals. But in this way, I feel like I can be more creative without boundaries, and this is another aspect that I love about the job that I'm doing right now. But however, I'm really grateful for that experience as a strength coach, because I can implement in their experience even with people that suffer from some kind of conditions. Because for me, any rehab process as a periodization, as a commitment, and so reapply all of these kind of principles to just another different part of the world is fantastic. And everything, is part of my formation, part of my skills.
And did you ever find that you were sort of meant to be helping someone with their strength and conditioning, and you ended up helping them with their breath work?
Yes. It happens. When I start to help people with breath work, I have to say that sometimes, it's a kind of a journey as everything, especially when I start to really implement breath work as core of my practices. Not everyone were really keen to implement that in their daily life, because they really didn't understand the power of breath work. But then you start to dive more and more into, and you start to explain them, and you start to show them how implementing their daily life, which is such a simple and practical tool. And people then come to you after 1 week, 2 weeks, even if they were skeptical, and they say, hey, Marco, I'm feeling like I'm sleeping better, and I'm feeling like I have a little bit more energy. And, I feel like I still have a little bit of pain, but I think it's a little bit alleviating. And for them, it's such a surprise. And for me, no, because I'm believing that.
Interesting. So you mentioned that they cured they got better sleep, energy, pain relief. What's the actual science behind these breathing techniques, and what are their effects on sort of health, healing, and sports performance? Is there much science behind them?
There is a lot of science, and there is so many resources behind breath work lately, and there is so many resources that link breathing from different aspects of our being, like From the emotional point of view, we can talking about breath work and about how breath influence our emotions and how our emotion influence our breath. But we can talking even about breath work as the link with our posture, about how our breathing create movements in our posture and create movement patterns, and how the way you breathe affect your diaphragm. And so you have to understand that we have to understand that the diaphragm is such a crossroad of information from our body, crossroad of energy. But again, breath work, and this is another way, there is a lot of resources that link breath work with our physiology, and how the way you breathe and the ratio between your inhalation and exhalation phase can alter your carbon dioxide and oxygen in your blood, and so affect all kind of metabolism reactions in your body. So there is so much resources, and if I will be happy to dive more deep into that, but one thing, just I don't want to be too complicated and too long to answer your questions, but there is an amazing link between breath work and our vagus nerve, which is the vagus nerve is the nerve that connect our brain with our body, and how by breath work I can affect this vagus tone, and how the vagus tone can promote a better sleep, better rest, and how the vagus tone provides such an anti-inflammatory response in our body. So it's not just the fact that you promote rest and recovery, but it's actually in the way you modulate your breath, you can promote an anti-inflammatory response. And this is massive for people that suffer from chronic inflammation. And as you know, inflammation is from everything every kind of dysfunction starts from an inflammation point of view. So yes, that's it. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, and you yourself, have you got some anecdotal evidence with sports performance and how breath work has helped there?
Absolutely. Look, I'm working at the moment with some athletes too. I'm working still one-on-one with a rugby player that, I still love my conditioning part of my work. And with them, we do some conditioning. And I have even a boxer, a professional boxer here in Sydney. And what I love to do is start our training session with a little bit of breath work, and finish then the central part, the core of the session is actually do the conditioning, do the actually physical work, past mid-term, and then we finish again with some breath work. And this is amazing because if you start to modulate your breath work, let's say, and implementing some dynamic breathing techniques, and for dynamic breathing techniques, I'm talking about the kind of breathing techniques, for example, when you start to modulate your breath really slow, like for example, to do some practical example, you start to breathe in really slowly, like breathing in 6 and breathe out in 6, in a way that you have like 5 cycles of breath in a minute. Well, if you implement that with other really fast breathing technique, like breathing in 2 really forcefully and breathe out in 2, and when you start to implement this kind of different breathing techniques, is actually have an amazing effect at the level of the diaphragm, and then the level that you can deliver oxygen to your cells. And it's actually challenging the capability of the person to go from 0 kilometers per hour to 100 kilometers per hour, and then from 100 kilometers per hour come back to 0 kilometers per hour, right? So it's your ability to go from 0 to 100, because I can't ask to one of my athletes to perform at the 100% to 100 kilometers per hour if he doesn't know how to stop. And this is a big concept for me.
So have you worked with someone that perhaps hasn't done the breathing work, and then you've worked with them with the breath, and then they've actually got better results?
Yes, absolutely. And that's why I keep on doing this. Yes, absolutely. The professional boxer won his 4th match here in Australia. Here in Australia, not for much time. and he won, and he was feeling much better. He was what he was saying, that his ability to rest was better. And so if your ability to rest, if your capability to rest is better, then you can perform better.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's a great tool for recovery. I think it'd be a really great tool for recovery. Absolutely.
So just for our audience and myself as well, can you explain exactly what your breath work is all about? And then also perhaps if you could let us know about the other types of breath work that's out there, and sort of paint a clear picture about the different modalities and the different, I guess, ways that we can use the breath.
Yes. I like to talking about breathing techniques as a daily habits, first of all. Daily habits that the people can implement in the morning and in the evening, 20 minutes each. And in the way that you modulate your breath, you can enhance your recovery, you can enhance your energy level, and all of this stuff. But basically what I'm really promote is the reconnection with our breath. So, and there's a lot of misunderstanding about breath work, because when we think about breath work, we all think we should get a deep breath, and I don't like that. I like focus my clients, especially people that suffer from some kind of condition, on the exhalation phase, because what we're finding out is that people with some kind of dysfunction or pain, or even an athlete that train 6 times, 7 times a week, have this kind of arousal state of mind chronically, and so they hyperventilate 24 hours per day. All right, and so they lose their ability to exhale. If I'm retraining their ability to exhale, I'm enhancing the level of carbon dioxide on the blood flow. And if I'm enhancing the level of carbon dioxide in the blood flow, I can promote the delivery of oxygen into the cells, because I know that the oxygen is becoming really tight to the hemoglobin. And when you are in this kind of state, when you hyperventilate or you take a deep breath, the hemoglobin develops such a great affinity with the oxygen that the oxygen can't be delivered anymore into the cell. So if you have a respiratory alkalosis because your saturation of oxygen is 100%, compensatory, you're going to have a metabolic acidosis into the cells, because that oxygen you have into your bloodstream can be delivered in the cells. And this, I gave you a little bit of physiologies, but that's why I'm promoting, and come back to the answer of your question, that's why I'm promoting this kind of breathing techniques, when you promote a long exhalation phase and holding the breath and working on the retention of the breath, and then breathing again, like in 3 seconds, 4 seconds. But there's so many breathing techniques out there, and that you can implement. There is hyperventilation breathing techniques, which I like it if you associate them with a really good breath retention work. You hold your breath. If you can implement in hyperventilation breathing techniques with that, can work. Otherwise, I'm not really agree with that. And that is
sorry, just to interrupt there. So what you're saying is that your breath work is not about deep breathing, it's more concentrating around the long exhalations and the holding. Absolutely. And the holding of the breath.
That's
and
right.
There are other techniques that use hyperventilation, and you're not 100% opposed to that. If in what condition?
I know there is a lot of hyperventilation breathing techniques out there as well. Think about the Wim Hof. Mm-hmm. Wim Hof is a famous one. No, he's an hyperventilation techniques. Why Wim Hof works really well for some people is because they implement an hyperventilation breathing techniques. So this kind of deep breath, hover breathing with the retention of the breath. It makes you hold the breath for such a long time. And so in this way, you shift. In this way, how it works, it seems like reframe brain waves and have a better physiology, better chemistry, and all of this stuff. However, I think that people nowadays needs to reconnect with their breath. And when I'm talking about reconnecting with the breath, I'm thinking about reconnect and be aware that they have to breathe from the nose rather than the mouth. Stop to have this kind of shallow, short breath, especially in the daily life. And this is something I'm talking a lot with my clients. When you are busy in your daily life, you are in the office, you are so busy, we stop 5 minutes, place your hands on the side of your rib cage and start to lengthening this exhalation phase and even the inhalation phase, but do it from your nose. So retrain your breath, and in this way you can modulate it. And you can be more in touch with your breath, and you can develop the kind of breath that is functional. Because I love when you hyperventilate because you are training hard. I don't like when you hyperventilate and you don't even realize that, because you are so excited in your nervous system and you can fall asleep in the night. There is so much study out there that link fibromyalgia, chronic pain, and chronic inflammation with an increase in the respiratory rate. So it's really important nowadays find a way to reconnect with the breath, to stop and retrain our exhalation phase, because there is a big myth around carbon dioxide. We used to think that carbon dioxide is just a waste product, but that's not at all. Carbon dioxide is actually work like a stress hormone in our body.
Okay, so essentially then you're more about reconnecting to the breath and using exhalations in particular. And then also you mentioned breathing through the nose. So unlike the Wim Hof method where he's not so concerned about whether you're breathing through the nose or the mouth.
That's right.
And then say with the Soma, they also breathe through the nose, but more along the hyperventilation sort of process. So there seems to be a bit of a difference between all the different modalities out there, but I can totally relate to what you're talking about. So can you maybe take us through an example? And you mentioned 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening, about maybe an example of the morning and then the example of the evening and why and how they're different as well.
Absolutely. So for example, during the morning, during the 20 minutes in the morning, one of my favorite breathing techniques that I'm doing myself as well is like breathing in 4 seconds from the nose, hold the breath at 4 seconds, and breathe out in 6 seconds. All right. And here, what I want to wake up, okay, and provide more oxygen running through my body, okay. And this is why I'm holding my breath at the end of the inhalation phase, and promote a little bit longer exhalation phase, just 6 seconds. But again, it's not a matter of seconds. It's a matter to be in touch with our breath. If you breathe in 5 and you're going to hold 4 seconds, it's going to be the same, So just reconnect with the breath. And what I'm saying to my clients, just find the way that you're breathing is a little bit uncomfortable because you're anyway modulating your breath, but it doesn't have to be much, all right? While, for example, before to go to bed, what I want to do is really enhance the level of carbon dioxide in my body, because I know that carbon dioxide can have a really good effect on tone down and unwind my nervous system. So something that I really love to do is start like the first 5 minutes by lengthening my exhalation phase. So let's start. Probably I'm breathing in 4, I'm breathing out in 4, and then in each cycle of breath, I'm lengthening my exhalation phase on 1 count until I'm not arriving to a total of 8, and I'm keeping that rhythm, breathing in 4, breathe out in 8 for 5 minutes. And after that, I'm working in breathing in 3, hold 3 seconds, breathe out in 3, and hold in 3 seconds again. And this is a really powerful technique. But basically, this is the main difference. If in the morning I want more oxygen, because I know that oxygen make myself more responsive, to the environment. During the night is the opposite. I want to enhance my carbon dioxide level because I want to sleep well. And I know the effect of carbon dioxide into my body. But again, I think that the moment that you understand how to reconnect with your breath, because your breath is such a personal thing. Your breath is unique and it's just your breath. So this is when you're talking about counting, breathing in 4 and holding 3, or take a deep breath, take a slow breath, is just a reference point that people like to use, but they don't have to be stuck on that, because otherwise we fall in another form of control. What I want to teach them to reconnect with the breath. Okay. Because as I said, your breath is such a personal thing.
Sure. So you mentioned, say, 4-4-6. So breathing in for 4, holding for 4, and then exhaling for 6.
Yeah.
Is that an arbitrary number? I mean, for example, could I make it 6-6-8?
Yes. Why not?
Okay, so it just depends on the person and finding that comfort level so that they're not feeling too stressed.
That's right. The main thing when you breathe in, after that you breathe out for, let's say, 8 seconds, like you said, the main thing is have a slow breath in. The focus is not on deep breath, slow breath in. So don't have the because what I'm finding out with a lot of people that suffer from this kind of chronic hyperventilation disorders is that after a longer exhalation, or after they hold the breath for 3 seconds, they have this kind of urge to breathe. They become like oxygen cravers, so they get this like a big breath in, and so they start to engage all these accessory muscles of the neck, and on the shoulders. So what I'm saying to them a lot of time, place your hands on the side of your rib cage and feeling the expansion of your lower rib cage. That's where you want to breathe. And if you want to really breathe from this area, you need to start to breathe slowly. Give your breath the time to happen, because it's going to happen anyway. It's an automatic function that you can modulate, but still an automatic function. So there is no rush to breathe. Make it happen.
So you encourage the breath from the diaphragm as opposed from the top of the lungs.
Absolutely.
Interesting. So essentially then, the difference between the morning and the evening breath work is what?
Is basically in the morning rise my responsiveness to my environment by holding my breath at the end of an inhalation phase, of a good inhalation phase. You have this kind of sensation that you wake up, and this is because of your oxygen level. While in the night, I want to provide just the opposite physiological response. I want to hold the breath. I want to exhale in order to enhance my carbon dioxide level, because carbon dioxide level in my blood promotes rest and recovery in my nervous system.
So sorry, I'm a bit confused. So what would the count look like for what would the count look like for a morning breath versus an evening breath?
Sorry?
Sorry, can you just take us through then what the count would look like for a morning example of a breath work, and then the evening example? So the 3-3-3-3 example that you gave us, would that be an evening breath?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And if you try, you're going to find that it's going to be quite challenging in the evening because you really have to modulate your breath. And you will find out that breathing in 3, after that you hold your breath for 3 seconds, that you exhale for 3 seconds, and you hold again for 3 seconds, is going to be a little bit challenging, because you will feel like that you need to breathe more and more and more. But what we really want to know, we want to create this kind of slight dyspnea sensation in order to make you cope better with that in the future and reset your carbon dioxide level and enhance your reactivity to carbon dioxide. Because when people hyperventilate and they feel the need to get this deep breath, it's because they are too sensitive to the carbon dioxide level. And this is something physiologically. If I'm retraining my nervous system, if I'm retraining my carbon dioxide, if I'm retraining my physiology to enhance my carbon dioxide level, you become like conditioned. And as I said before, if I'm raising the carbon dioxide level in my body, the oxygen, I'm enhancing the transport of oxygen into my cell. That's right. Mm-hmm. And even promoting relaxation of my nervous system. This is why carbon dioxide works like a stress hormone, not just as a waste product. It's a fundamental element of our body. And there is a big misconception about it. There is so many articles that link carbon dioxide and hypoventilation therapies for the treatment of panic attacks, for the treatment of chronic pain, because as you know, panic attack are linked with this kind of big breath, this kind of short and shallow and fast breathing.
Yeah, excellent. So you mentioned 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening.
Yes.
Does that involve sitting still, or do you put movement with the breath?
Oh, well, I love sometimes to put movement in my breath and feel my body shift and feel, I love this question. And sometimes if I'm changing position during my breathing techniques, I experience my breath in different part of my body. Sometimes, for example, in kneeling position, I'm placing my hands in front of me and I'm trying to reach with my hands in front of me as long as I can. And while I'm breathing, I can experience the breath on my back, no? Mm-hmm. And then by raising up my hands or moving them aside, I can experience my breath on my right side of my rib cage or even on the left side of my rib cage. And this is an amazing psychosomatic work because it makes you be more and more in touch with your body. And you can understand, especially when you work with people that suffer from chronic anxiety or chronic pain, depression, all of these kind of nasty conditions. You let them experience that the conditions where they are right now are in reality transient. They come and go, and they respond a lot of time by the way they breathe and the way they move. Because breath work, as I said at the beginning of this beautiful chat, is body practice. And I know that through the body I can retrain my mind. And sometimes all of these kind of stuck conditions when a lot of people suffer nowadays, it's just because we lost our ability to shift. We lost, and I know that the physiological conditions or a mental state is closely related to a movement pattern. And people become stuck in the movement, become stuck in their posture, become stuck in the way to breathe, creating resistances. But if I make you breathe slowly, and experience the movement in your body and experience the breath in different part of your body, you can relate that. Plus, as we said so far, I have an opportunity to change my physiology and so retrain my state of mind.
I love it.
So absolutely. Just to confirm, movement and breath work, I love it. Something I'm implementing daily. Yes.
So Marco, I know you run some online courses, programs that people can buy. Can you just tell us where they can get those? And I'll obviously include that in the show notes, and also what exactly they are.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks for this opportunity. Yes, I released my online program on Udemy platform. You can find myself by write down my name and surname, Marco Tesi, and the name of the course is Respiro, Breath and Movement Retraining for Better Health. It's a 6-module program, which is in the first module I'm talking about, what we are talking so far about how can we reconnect with our breath. It's all about it. In the second module, there is some effective breathing techniques that you can implement in the mornings. In the third module, you can find some breathing techniques that you can implement during the evening to have a better night's sleep. While in the fourth, we start to implement all of this kind of hyperventilation breathing techniques with hypoventilation breathing techniques, really powerful. And on the fifth module, actually, there is a big part when I'm start to teach you how to match breathing with movements, and there is a basic and advanced techniques for that. Is really really good. And while in the last model, on the sixth one, there is an effective approach for all these kind of acute symptoms of anxiety, of panic attack. And this is a model that I love because it's really close related to my daily practice with my clients. And basically, my question was, how can I help these people when they suffer from panic attacks, when they have this kind of acute sensation of overwhelming, that of danger, and what can you do? What can I do at that moment? There is a breathing technique for that.
Wow, it sounds great.
Thank you so much, Ali. Yes.
Okay, well, we'll include that in the show notes. And Marco, I guess I have to ask you, especially because of your experience with working with a lot of athletes in the strength and conditioning and in the breath work, what do you think are the best ways to stay fit and healthy for long term? And I know you're going to say a daily practice of breath work, but what else would you say?
I would say, good question. I would say implement breath work, implement your training every day. Prioritize your time. That's what I feel like to say. Prioritize your time and make yourself active all the time. And this is not me. And this is something really, really simple that everyone can do. Everyone can do. We can find the way to be active all the time. If you have the elevator at your place work, choose to do the stairways, and then stop, go for a nice walk outside. And it's something really banal, the things that I'm saying, but it's true. You have to keep yourself active, because as I'm saying a lot to my clients, it seems like that in this modern world where our society from a positive perspective is really evolving, because we have so much knowledge, there is so many resources out there. But from the other side, it seems like we lost our ability to take time for ourselves and stop a little bit, So this is something, probably the life skill that we need to implement in our modern life. Stop for 30 minutes, be active, do some breath work, move this body, Doesn't matter how, move this body.
Awesome. I love that message. Thank you. And before I let you go, Marco, I've got to ask you a question we ask all our guests on the show. Do you have a tattoo?
Yes. So many, actually.
Can you tell us about one of them?
Absolutely. Well, I have like 18 tattoos. Just this is the intro, and I don't have a favorite tattoo, but one tattoo that I'm really really attached to it is one that I did actually before to came here in Australia the month before, and I have a beautiful old school rose on my left hand, between my wrist and my hand, and my best friend in Italy did it for me. And this is the meaning for me of this tattoo. There is no actually a real stories behind that. The story is that I loved that I liked it. I wanted this one, and it represents the beautiful moment with my friend while we were tattooing my hand. It was quite weird, because for the next 3 days after I did the tattoo, I had a tattoo on my hand, it's quite strong, and I was quite sure. I remember that I used to love it, and then I used to say, oh my God, probably it's too much. Oh my God, what people were gonna think about me, Yeah, but I love it. After 5 days, I'm completely in love with it. And every time I'm looking at this tattoo, I say, I love it. It's amazing.
Awesome.
Yes.
Look, thank you for your time. And like I said, I'll put your website and all your links to your program in the show notes. Thanks again, Marco.
Thank you so much, Hallie, for having me in your show. Such a pleasure for me.
all the resources and show notes from today's episode, please go to www.ali.fitness. If you liked today's episode, please show your appreciation by going to iTunes, give us a 5-star review and subscribe.